Seems like just yesterday, I saw the first ever Arcade1up in person at Walmart, and I always said, I'll get to kind of going through everything, kind of a timeline for how the last 7 years went, and I thought that, it'd be fitting that I'll grab a Back to the Future mug and just kind of go back, kind of a little time travel Arcade1up start to not finish, because they're not finished yet. Welcome to today's video as of recording of this Thursday, September 25th, 2025. Got an email from Arcade1up that they turned 7. Let's celebrate. They're doing a few giveaways. I will have a link in the description. Looked like there was about 120 some hours remaining, so a few days able to enter the drawing. I want to mention something that I have always hoped that not only we get something new, of course, new releases from Arcade1up, but merch, like having an Arcade1up shirt or an Arcade1up hat. Just throughout the 7 years, they never really had a lot of apparel or merch, clothing, and I always thought that kind of hurt. It kind of hurt them as far as like advertising. For me, honestly, as many videos as we do when we go out, I would have an Arcade1up stuff. I'd sport the shirt or a hat when we go out. So I wanted to throw that out there. It's something that I've long asked for. I know that's kind of, sad trombone at this point, but they're still in business. It's 7 years, and I want to go through a little history of, it hasn't been 7 years for me, probably about 5.5, but the first time that I saw Arcade1up was 2019, and I'll go throw out everything here, starting in this room of the timeline, if you will, that I started collecting. We've done a lot of arcade tours and kind of a little bit of a tour, but starting off in the room where we do a lot of videos, we do a lot of intros, some reviews. These are the cabinets that are always behind me. Yes, I have some countercades because they're special. It's the Marvel countercade. It's actually not the first or only countercade I have bought. I actually bought 2 different NBA Jam countercades, sold them, realized how much I enjoyed it, bought it again. So that is the lure of retro gaming and home arcade. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, one of the daggers, if you will, on new releases from Arcade1up. I think they put so much into this, and it didn't meet expectations, the criteria that people expected. So it's a special cabinet to me for some other personal reasons, but also a cabinet that kind of resulted in a lot of rehashing going forward. I think they put a lot of eggs in a basket, and I don't know, kind of fell short. And then we got the Deluxe. We got the, not just the Deluxe, but the limited edition, the Vault Edition, Ms. Pac-Man, which I actually got this recently. I was kind of thinking, like, what cabinets have I purchased recently? It was Ms. Pac-Man from Walmart. Got it for just over like $300. So a cabinet that was originally $599 that has all the light ups, and you can see that I did light up a lot of the coin doors, but this one came with it. And for $300, not bad. Of course, my NBA Jam countercade on the G.I. Joe stand. I've always hoped that G.I. Joe would make more stands for countercades, taller ones. There's so much stuff that Joel is working on. And that's another thing with Arcade1up was, there's at games here. We're gonna see some other cabinets, some other brands, but it opened the door for third-party companies, and still to this day. So it started with Arcade1up. Whether you like them or not, it led to bigger and better things, like the Street Fighter II Turbo Shinku Hadouken, one of my favorite cabinets. Yes, we're rocking out with the Arcade1up pinball, the Marvel pinball, which I don't play a lot because I have the ALP. And like I said, getting third-party companies, third-party sellers, and giving us bigger and better things. Of course, the ALP blows away the Arcade1up, but it all had to start somewhere. And actually, there is a timeline with Arcade1up that I recently, actually just saw it tonight, that it kind of shows, like, it's exciting because, in this date, this year, they acquired this, and in 2020, they acquired Zen Studios, were able to get that license, and that's how we got the pinball. Arcade1up is a computer hardware production company that specializes in the production of working 3/4 scale arcade cabinets. Something that we've always hoped to get were bigger LCDs, but it started off with the 17-inch LCDs, which led to the BOEs. And you know, just kind of going off of the early 70s and 80s arcade cabinets, that Scott Baccarat was just excited about retro gaming when he had this on his head and his mind in 2017. And like I was saying, June 2020, Arcade1up, in partnership with Zen Studios, announced the first in its line, the 3/4 scale replica pinball. And that's, you know, where it started. And then, you know, the rest is history. And then every year we would get more and more stuff. And it got to the point where we couldn't keep up. They would announce something and then boom, another cabinet, another cabinet. And then it just kind of went away. But getting this and, you know, having Star Wars, having Attack from Mars, having Marvel, led to other companies, at games, which we just got bigger and better. And yes, none of these are perfect by any means, but something, you know, triggers an idea and then it leads to more, like other companies going forward with Street Fighter 2. So yeah, these are the cabinets that are always behind me when I do intros and sometimes outros. Probably gonna stick with this lineup. Probably won't ever see anything really drastically changing unless, of course, we get more good stuff and then maybe the countercades get moved out, but I don't think I'd ever get rid of them. I think a lot of people would say that Golden Axe is one of the best 4-player cabinets. Not perfect, no coin door, no online. Of course, I did change out some marquees so they don't look this good, but they look good. They look good enough that you want to just fill your house with them. And this is kind of an overflow room. Like there's an actual like arcade room and then all this. And that's why I kind of created the streaming room or the review room, because I had to have a place for these other cabinets. I was late on buying this. I think this came out 2019, 2020. I picked mine up in 2024 and I actually bought 2 different Turtles in Time cabinets. How did I let one go? I only went back and picked it up again. Actually, a gentleman drove up from Ohio, and that's how I got this cabinet. One of my favorites. The first time I saw Arcade1up at Walmart, it was very small. It was stripped down. There was not a lot of light up stuff. I don't even think the marquee lit up. And then all of a sudden we got these XLs. And actually this was the second cabinet I ever got. And it's far from perfect. It's actually the first time looking at the TN monitor with my new camera, but it does show up good with the marquee. But always a fan of this very Golden Tee. I did light up those coin doors, and it's just a keeper just because it's the second cabinet I ever got, and it was an XL. One of Arcade1up's flaws was their inconsistency. The second XL they gave us was Shack Jam, and it was a step back from the Golden Tee. There was no coin door. The monitor, of course, was just as bad, but they were just wacky. There was, you know, they'd give us something, and then they'd take something away, and then they introduced the Deluxe, and they'd bring back something with the risers. So there was no like consistency with Arcade1up, but Shack Jam, as you know, was one of my had-to-have cabinets because of its size. It's one of the tallest, biggest cabinets, and my cat Loki absolutely loves it. Actually picked this one up used. If you know the story, I saw plenty of Shack Jams in stores. Never picked up because I always thought that they would be on sale. They would drop in price, and they didn't when I was looking for it. Bought one on eBay, turned out to be a complete bust for me. Sent it back. Found a local seller close to me, picked this up, and it's worked out pretty good. The funny thing is there was no deck protector from the gentleman who had this. Played it for a little bit, saved the deck protector, but didn't have it on the actual control deck. And there was no like messed up artwork. So he didn't have it for long. And that was another reason why I went with this cabinet. And I don't know if I would have came across another Shack Jam in this condition. Had plans to kind of do something different with it, maybe put a coin door on, and I don't have it in me yet to mess with that artwork because it's Shack Jam. And it's, you know, the second we start messing with stuff, it's one thing to light up a coin door, but another thing to completely mess up the artwork, because, you know, when you do, you'll never get it back. So haven't decided yet, but anyone asking if I ever picked up Shack Jam, it's right here. Now at Lucky's Gym is another kind of overflow room for me because getting into the home arcades over the past 5+ years, again, Arcade1up has been around for 7 years, I couldn't stop collecting these. And that was the thing, and that's what they were banking on for people trying to, you know, create their childhood. So I put a few cabinets down here. My Arcade1up NBA Jam, which was my second. I did get the 3/4 scale, the shark fin, but when the Deluxe came out, I decided to go with the Deluxe before Shack Jam, and then I kind of always went back and forth of, I should have got Shack Jam. Kind of went with the sports theme here because of the whole workout gym. But one of my newer cabinets was about a year and a half ago at Costco, the Golden Tee Midway, which a lot of people have referred to as the Frankenstein, but it's an XL. And it basically was one of the last completing cabinets for me to say, hey, I have all of the XLs. Shack Jam was the last. And yeah, the rest is history. NFL Blitz could be in the same category as Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It was one of the cabinets that Arcade1up banked everything they had. The gamble of getting the NFL license, getting NFL Blitz, getting Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and the issue with both of these, for the most part, was the online experience was not there initially. Turned a lot of people off. The gaming community was very upset about it. I had troubles with this. I had massive troubles trying to reconnect online with this cabinet, and it's held up, it's worked fine, but initially, there are some tricks to go back and forth on some of the cabs. I actually thought something, like, what's happening here? It's got the track mode, the press play, but NFL Blitz was one of those cabinets that might have been the dagger for new releases. We did get new releases after this, but it didn't help the cause of getting more and more stuff. There was a time when there was one cabinet in this room, and then 2 and then 3, kind of had a little bit of organization or a little balance, but then all of a sudden we got the full arcade. And I have shuffled things around many times, changed the look, and I think there's 14. 15 was pressing it, especially with the 4-player cabinets. Time Crisis, probably the tallest cabinet. I do have a little bit of a riser on there. But X-Men was the cabinet that was just all alone. Actually, the first place was right up against this wall. It was just, we walk in here, X-Men's here, Turtles was right next to it, a Street Fighter 2. Golden Tee XL has always been in that back room. And I'll never forget getting Mortal Kombat 2 Deluxe. Immediately when Best Buy was allowed to sell it, I waited outside the store for them to open on Sunday and left with the very first Deluxe cabinet. My second XL was Pac-Man from Costco. Probably the best XL they did because it just looks like an actual arcade cabinet. Dragon's Lair was a cabinet that I wasn't gonna get. And it was around for so long that I just said, you know what, if I don't get it, I'll regret it. And that there's other cabinets that I wish I would have did that, like Tron or Burger Time, but I completely missed out. Arcade1up actually sent me Galaga Deluxe, the Vault Edition, for a review cabinet. I didn't pay for this one. They sent me this cabinet. I could not believe that they sent it to me. And I think a lot of people in the community helped out. I know Michael B was a big help with that. I know Travis MCP. But yeah, this cabinet is very special to me, and it was sent right from Arcade1up. But Arcade1up led to other companies like At Games, MVSX, iArcade. Whether they lived up to what we wanted is another story, but I held on to them for nostalgic reasons. KI Pro was the most expensive cabinet I got, next to, of course, Time Crisis, which is just a lot of money. But, you know, we do crazy things when we're in this hobby. And I'm glad that I got KI Pro, because it is almost impossible to find this cabinet. Fast and Furious, I've done some mods to it, more than one. Same with Terminator 2. A couple different things. Kind of maximize something that was kind of lacking in games. But I'm glad I did what I did. It's kind of a little learning curve, learning experience. There's things I'd like to do to KI Pro, but I didn't get around to it. The thing is when you build a cab and you want to change something like the marquee, there's a lot of taking apart to do, and sometimes you just kind of live with it. You've spent so much on something, you're just kind of like, you know what, at this point, I'm just gonna ride it out. I did have 2 different cells over here at one point where it was I think Turtles, Simpsons, and X-Men were back to back, and then you could put one in the front, and it's just because of that, it took up more room, and I decided to put a 4-player here, a 4-player on the other side, and then standard cab, and then the same with this other side. I was able to get an extra cabinet. Otherwise, it was 4 cabinets, 5 cabinets compared to 6. So kind of maximizing as much as I could, but still allowing myself to have room in here. And I parted with a lot of stools. There's only 2 stools remaining in here. I do have 2 in the other room, but I have the KI Pro stool, and then my Turtles in Time stool from my original Turtles in Time. I actually sold the other stool that I got when the gentleman drove up from Ohio. But yeah, this is the actual arcade. This is what was meant. And then it just kind of got crazy, and I kept buying, and I needed more space. And you know what's kind of in here is the look. I don't know if I want to take anything out of this room. I do want to mention that it's not just to relive my like 14 year, being 14 again at the movie theater, and you know, leaving the movie and playing some arcade cabinets, or going to the bowling alley and playing X-Men, you know, getting that $10 roll of quarters. These came at a time in my life when I needed something. I needed to forget about life for a while. And that's kind of what kind of hooked me in, along with the nostalgic factor. But it was at a period of my life, and it kind of saved me from that. And then led to other things of doing YouTube videos. Actually, today is a very important date in my life, and it just kind of gave me the idea when I saw that email of, let's do a 7-year Arcade1up video. And this was a big part. 2019, and Arcade1up from 2018, but 2019 something huge happened, and they kind of came around at the right time. X-Men was 2021, so there were a few years where I was monitoring the arcades, but I wasn't committing, and I didn't get X-Men. X-Men was my first cabinet that I bought just after it had released. So it came out in November. I bought it about a month or 2 afterwards. So since then, it's been pretty heavy, obviously, with the home arcades, with Arcade1up, with At Games, with MVSX, iArcade, and hopefully it will lead to a lot more, and we'll get another 7 years. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for coming down memory lane with me. It means a lot. It's a special hobby for so many reasons. Thanks for watching. I do want to say that out of all the cabinets I have, KI Pro has the best controls that were stock, along with Star Wars The Flight Yoke. Why I never upgraded to the GRS. They did a great job with that Flight Yoke. I've done so many mods to my Star Wars as well, that I always left the controls for that you know, as far as the Flight Yoke alone. So there's things that they did, but the inconsistency, like I mentioned, of, you know, improving something and then just going backwards. Fast and Furious is probably the best driving cab, racing cab they made. And a cabinet like Big Blue, I never planned on getting Big Blue. And it just came across the point of having enough points on Amazon. I got it for like $150. And Simpsons was $199 at Walmart. So I was actually looking for NFL Blitz, came across Simpsons back when Blitz was just about hitting stores, and I went with it. And now it's just a cabinet that I can't part with, because it's so fun to play online with 4 players. And it's just a special cabinet that I got for $200. And of course, the Street Fighter II Deluxe. Time Crisis. It's cool reliving something and just walking into a room of the illusion that you are in an arcade, and that's what sold us. And still to this day, that every time a company comes out with a new product, this is why we want to keep reliving that special nostalgic experience.